Yes, I think I do. Like, of course, like people have like different multiple identities, and that's kind of like being a European might not be your primary identity or something like that. It might be I might identify to my home city or something like that, or be a Finn, or be a kind of like identify myself as being a Finn of certain region of Finland or something like that. But definitely, I think that being a European is quite high on that list of identities in my case, because I don't have maybe that strong local identity in Finland, for example. I identify myself as a Finn, as a kind of like a Northern European, Scandinavian, like broadly speaking. But then I think like after that, definitely as a European, and it has become like a more and more strong identity for me. The more I have been in contact with something that is not European in that sense, like to be abroad, like outside Europe. I wasn't maybe identifying myself as a European so strongly when I was still like doing my university studies or something like that, but then later in work, like when I have come across different ways of understanding the world and the human existence in a sense, I have kind of like understood that there is commonalities in the ways that the people in Europe are thinking, and they are different to some other ways of thinking in the world, which are no less right or wrong, but they are just different. And in those terms, I'm really, you might say that my identification as a European has grown even stronger now. Might be something that quite many people say, but it was my Erasmus Exchange period when I was an exchange student in Northern Ireland at Queen's University Belfast, and that was kind of like a formative European experience in a sense that I was really able to spend a longer time in a European country, and also it was a formative experience in terms of my personal life, in a sense that it really gave me the direction that my life followed after that, because I got interested of the Northern Ireland conflict, and then eventually built my career out of it, and became like a people who is working with conflicts and crises and so on and so on. So it definitely was an important element. But like spending time in Northern Ireland also gave me insights on what that kind of like non-European ways of communal hostility or something like that. What are the dangers of kind of like seeing things in a one-sided way, and not being able to step into some other person's shoes, and having a more open mindset. So spending time in Northern Ireland actually like gave me reason to think about these ideas, and see how the European project, for example, is a really like a novel and important project that is basically aimed to educate us to live in peace with each other, and be able to see like above those differences that are in everyday lives. Referring to my like really positive experience of going to Britain when I was younger, it must be the Brexit, because Brexit in some sense signaled a failure of this type of European project where Europe was basically built, and I'm not necessarily referring to the European Union, but this kind of like a larger metaphysical idea that Europe is about different nations that come together in peace, and that was in a way failure of that project, at least in a short time. Let's see what's going to happen in a longer run, but at the moment it seems so that this is maybe one of the first major bumps in that road to kind of like moving towards that ideal situation. So yeah, definitely Brexit. I think in a personal way it probably was. If I think about my personal sentiments and the feelings that I had when I really like felt like a European and felt that there is something common and something permanent happening was when the euro was introduced, because that was kind of I remember I was like I was taking a ferry ride then to Stockholm and back. It was like a New Year's Eve or something like that, and when we left from Finland, we basically still had the Finnish currency markka, and when we came back, all the kind of like gas stations and places where we stopped when we were driving back home, they had like euros, and it really was like a really this kind of like a deep experience of now having this one single thing, that this really like a tentative thing that you could have in your hands and touch it and use it, and that is the same in different countries in Europe, and that was really like a good and positive moment for me, because I didn't have like, of course you can have like different feelings about that. For some people that was this kind of like a day of defeat or something like that, but for me it was definitely like a triumph, and you could go like to Germany or France or wherever, and you can Ireland, and you could use the same currency, and you just like it made your life so much easier, because at that point, like I think my generation in Finland was the first one who kind of like got into habit of traveling to European countries, to kind of like we still, it's funny we talk about European countries even though like Finland is a European country, but in Finland like a common speak, you refer to European countries when you are going to like Central Europe or somewhere like that, and we were used to that, and it was like a hassle every time to change a currency when you went to Germany, for example. And now that was kind of like you didn't have to do that, and the same stuff came out from the ATMs no matter where you were, and that was definitely a positive experience for me. Well, yeah, again it has to be the Erasmus program. But I think like also beyond that, it's the free movement and what you can gain from that, because I before starting my previous job, I was in academia, and being able to move freely between different European countries and interact with different people and have that experience was definitely the kind of like really profound way of molding my identity, for example. So yeah, definitely the free movement has been the single most important thing. I would want the EU to be able to work more as a kind of like, or have more of a one voice, and it doesn't mean that you would not have those individual national voices anymore, but you can have those, but you can still have to. I would hope that EU would be in the international arenas, we would be able to have one voice which would be like based on European values and European like ideas of of civil liberties and democracy and all those kind of basically ideas that come from the ancient Greek and Rome basically, and they would be kind of like carried on, which means that you would still need to have that kind of like diversity, and that diversity within Europe wouldn't go anywhere, but we would be more able to discuss those differences amongst ourselves and kind of like a debate freely in this kind of like a almost ideal system where the best argument would prevail in the discussions, and then we would jointly decide what is the European voice that we would use in UN, for example, in the discussions there. That's a really like idealistic dream. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I would want to see some kind of like a more unitary Europe in the future, because nowadays the whole European project and the EU is kind of like it's a little bit having troubles with this kind of like internal quarrels, and we need to kind of like raise above that and understand our place in the world and what we actually have to offer for the world, and be united about that.